Hey everybody, here comes fall. So I wanted to check back in with my garden and see how it's doing. Hope your garden is doing well. So a fall garden looks a little different from a spring or a summer garden. The beans are tall and they're starting to get ready to harvest. You can look in as these beans dry out. You can look inside and see real beans. Beans that all dry and then we'll be able to eat. And the tomatoes start to get really long and expansive. The dahlias are in bloom. You see those over there? And let's harvest some radishes. It'll take just a minute. Radishes. They're a little bit dry. See how wilty those greens are? But if I put the greens in some water, they'll freshen up nicely and I can cook them for some nice cooked greens. And the radishes will be great to eat in a salad. Pile them up there. Try and pile them up so you can see them. I'll try and leave a few in. See if they get any bigger. But in the meantime, we'll have some radishes. And look, there's some that are white also. You have white and the white and red. All right. What do you think? That took less than a minute, don't you think? I like to think a little bit today about time and watching time flow by as you're hanging out in nature. I'm sure you've heard other people before say just a second or just a minute. They usually don't really mean just a second, because a second is really fast, right? And a minute, just a minute, they say. In fact, I think I said it a minute ago. How many seconds are in a minute? Do you know? There are 60 seconds in a minute. That's just something people memorize. 60 seconds in 1 minute. A lot can happen in a second or in a minute. And I got a cool book that talks about it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Just a couple of cool parts. This book is called Just a Second. By Steve Jenkins. It says a different way to look at time. Listen to this. In 1 minute, a person walking at a brisk pace, brisk is, kind of fast, covers about 300 feet. A three-toed sloth hauls itself about 10 feet. A giant tortoise lumbers about 15 feet. Again, we're talking about what happens in 1 minute. And a common snail, we could see that in the garden maybe, glides about 1 foot on its slimy track in 1 minute. This is what 1 minute is like when you're trying to follow a bee buzzing between bean blossoms. Look at these interesting insects on this milkweed pod. Come watch them with me for the rest of this minute. They don't move much, just a bit. I wonder what they're doing. Do you want to make a guess? This is what it's like to watch a grasshopper, this grasshopper, for 1 minute. And this is what it's like when you speed up the film to make it seem like some cleanup work in the garden only took 1 minute. You use a lot of stuff in the garden. You use some old twine to hold things up. You use some netting to keep out some of the big rodents. And you took out this old cucumber vine because it doesn't have time to grow into real cucumbers. But you can see each one of those little yellow blossoms, if it had time and sun and nutrients, would turn into a cucumber. Time to get ready for next year. Well, we've spent some really interesting minutes together in the garden. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you've had a good time, and I hope that you're getting a chance to get outside also. The fall is a beautiful time to spend outside. And you've seen all the things that can happen in a minute. Sometimes you just have to slow down and watch to see some of the amazing things that happen in nature, even in your garden even. I wanted to point out a couple more things from this really cool book that Steve Jenkins mentions. We've seen all that can happen in a minute, and here are some things that can happen in 1 week. The International Space Station, it goes around and around the Earth. It goes around the Earth 110 times in 1 week. And a moose's antlers, it's the fastest growing tissue of any mammal, can grow up to 6 inches in 1 week. Boy, that's a lot in 1 week. I wonder what you're going to do this week. What do you think? Let us know what you're up to. We'd love to hear. You could visit the library this week. We are now open by appointment, so give us a call, and we can set up an appointment for your family if you want to come in. And I hope you spend time outside, too. I know that now that fall has begun, I'm going to do one of my favorite things to do, which is to watch the leaves fall. I wonder how many leaves will fall in a minute. Happy reading, everybody.